Musimana fuzi jena chigara mboko gara mashamba hudu achirira navana vevanji vana chigara mabwe matandano vora zvibwe zvitedza zvinokugwa naona mamwari pedo ntamba nazvo mutambo uri paruware vana mushamba negori vachiri mangoro navapfuri vayo. My name is Maponga J, live here in Johannesburg, and I'm excited to become part of this beautiful program. And with me, Gogo Skhotheni.
Thokozani. This is Gogo Skhotheni insizwa /Shange. Ngino Mr. Maponga lana and then
Dini zithakazelo zakashange akuthi kancane ukuthi
uthi what I know about Dumagute and uphelela
lapho Dumagute. I think we need to do a serious research.
Yeah, I seriously do. Uphelela Dumagute, that's all I know.
So mani bika kuba mkhulu nabo gogo nithini ke manje nibiza ubani ke lapha?
Ngibiza abo Shange, abo Dumagute, then ngibiza ezami ithakazelo ke abo Dlamini, abo Mthweni, abo Khiba, abo Mashilwane ngilapho nje. But uShange
Dlamini bacedza ibombo ngokuhlehlethela nenambahle njengeyintaba.
Hawu madod. Nginjalo as you can see.
I spent a few years in Swaziland, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in my infant years, 1994, 95, I was in Swaziland. Yeah.
How was it? How was the experience?
Exciting space, I lived in a kingdom, actually.
Really?
Kingdom of Swaziland. Eswatini, but then it was a kingdom of Swaziland. And the modus operandi in which they do their things, in Kuala Sabo, when they do their traditional stuff. And 2 or 3 occasions, actually, I was invited to come and do some prayers with the king before he went on to his indigenous traditional stuff, you know, that kind of thing. And as a religious young man and a religious zealot, it's exciting but confusing. You know, and I was young then, and how do I go and pray for a man who is going to go to the mountain and I've been taught that mountains have demons, you know?
Oh, I get you. Okay.
It's like I'm baptizing you.
While we're talking about that, at that time, were you a Christian or you believed in traditional stuff?
You know, when someone is saying, when you were in grade 4, were you putting on size 5? Then I say yes. And say, what are you putting on now? I say, I'm putting on size 11. It does not mean that I did not put on a size 5. It does not mean that the person who was putting on a size 5 has stopped being the same man who is now putting on a size 11. It only means that the person has grown. The person has changed. The person has evolved. So you cannot, right now, at my older age, ask me to put on the shoes that I was putting when I was younger. When I was young, I believed what young people believe.
Okay.
When I'm old, I'm questioning what old people question.
Oh.
So I hear you when you say you were, because you want to ask the next question, what are you now?
Yes.
And I will not answer those questions because I'm simply saying you are limiting growth to a certain level of.
The reason why I'm asking is because you were a pastor.
Yeah.
You were called Pastor Maponga. That was your title. Currently, who are you? Are you still a pastor? Or you shifted from it? And why?
When you go fishing, you dress up like a fisherman.
Yeah.
When you go hunting, you dress like a hunter. Yeah. When you go teaching, you dress up like a teacher. It would be totally obnoxious to prepare for war in the Atlantic or Antarctic, frozen lands, and the battles are being fought in Somalia, in the deserts and the heats of Sahara. All your preparation becomes non-relevant. My growth pattern has not been easy. And I'm not saying so to be philosophical, honestly. I want to be very practical.
Get that.
That as of the last 3, 4, 5 years, when I met up with Womkulu Credo, some Sangomas in Drakensberg, in Swaziland, and Ghana, Nigeria, when I was writing the book, Going Places in the Spirit, critical book, which was my plateau of my growth. And I discovered that everything I'd been told about Christianity, in Christianity space, about indigenous and traditional people, was now being challenged by the experiences which I was now meeting. And I was going there as a bishop. And then of late, because I'm a sensitive person, my position on polygamy is no longer the same.
Okay.
My position on indigenous medicines is no longer the same. My positions on tithe collection is no longer the same. My position on politics and weapons, Christians collecting weapons and going to fight for their land, is no longer the same. My positions on the place of men and place of women in the community is no longer the same. So I've moved and I've changed.
Okay.
But because I carry this title of a bishop, the greater Christian community now feels like I'm bringing the title,
Yes.
which represents the institution under disrepute. So I thought to myself, how about I help them? It's out of understanding
Okay.
that it's a title.
It's just a title.
And by the way, I did not steal this title. For those of you who did not know, I did not steal the title. In 2009, 2010, when I was opening a ministry called Vessel to Vessel,
Yes. That's where I was going, because there were people who were saved because of you. There were preachings, you know.
I will come to the saved part later.
Yeah.
Pastors came, bishops came, elders came. If I remember, there were 16 of them. They all stood there and they did what they had to do. And they prayed, gave a gown on me and a sash and everything else, and conferred that title on me. I've graduated in many institutions as an academic graduate. And they conferred that title to me as Bishop of Maponga. So many people actually don't know that I'm not just calling bishop as a cosmetic title.
Yeah.
It's something that I actually received. But if you go to a doctor and the doctor heals you, then the doctor retires. Do you lose the healing?
No, you don't. It's within you.
End of questions, my Lord, if you hear what I'm saying.
I get
So
you.
I help you at a place when you need help. You came to me with a broken leg. I helped you.
You helped me.
You come to me later on and you have a mental issue. And I'm in another space. And they tell you the specialist is the
Can
same.
still, you know what? We're going back to who I am. I was saved as a Christian. I grew up as a Christian. And
Which church are you coming from?
I'm from JDI,
What is JDI?
Team Omato's church.
Omotoso.
Yes.
I come from the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Really. And as I was in that church, I was blinded that Christianity is the way, the Bible is the way, you know,
No other God.
no other
By
God.
the Bible alone. By
Yes.
grace, and
In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. That was my only focus. So now that, and at that time, I would heal people still. I would prophesy still. There's nothing that I'm doing currently that I did not do then when I was a Christian. So I'm going back to what you just said, because the healing that I gave people when I was a Christian then, I still have it even when I'm a Sangoma, because this thing is within. Nobody planted that inside.
it's a gift
It's a gift.
that was built in you.
Exactly.
But while you're on that, of course, it would be interesting to pick up some juicy stories. While you were there, did you notice anything that was unfamiliar in that space that made you kind of become a little bit...
I did. The only concern I had was, why is pastor only having girls that are working for him?
But you saw that.
I saw that, but I stayed.
Okay.
I
No,
saw
but your mind was focused on something.
Yeah,
You had
I
your own
wanted
ministry
God.
within a certain ministry. You know, it's
Yes.
like you're functioning within a ministry. So, in as much as you noticed it, it's not like you would.
It's not, it was not, I was not looking at it in a negative perspective.
It was not a deal breaker.
No, it wasn't. I stayed. Up until I'd always dream. I would always dream of beats. I would always dream of clots. I would always dream of the river, the snakes, and I would always question myself, how do I see people's problems? Because I did not understand my gift then. I was a very young girl. I did not understand who is telling me your problems, who is showing me that you have a hectic headache, you've been in an accident, this and this.
And it
that.
sounds spooky. It sounds spooky, just boom. You are walking into someone and says, hey,
What's a, yeah.
when I fix up... And the person listens, but how do you know? How do you...
Going back to that, do you believe in deja vu? Because I always see people, I'm like, this has happened before.
I would say on that one, the definition of human existence and reality has been limited by a Eurocentric colonial system that speaks of what you see, what you smell,
Yeah.
what you hear, what you feel, and etc. But we all know these five senses, beautiful as they are in the laboratory, we don't function there. Because even the man who is teaching you those five senses in the laboratory, when he gets home, he dreams. So what sense is that? When you get to a place and say, but I was here.
I was here.
What sense is that? When you are sitting in a business meeting and something cuts through your stomach. The contract is right, but the gut feeling,
It's not right.
what is that? When you are greeting someone and something in you says, this person is not clean, what is that? So are we saying the human being is only limited by the 5 senses? Or we need to rewrite the science books and say, hey, maybe Europeans, you have 5 senses.
Yeah.
But as Africans, we don't have 5. We have maybe 8, maybe 9.
more.
And
There's
inclusive to
more.
that
Yeah.
would be deja vu, memory,
Memory,
dreams, gut,
dreams.
and even parental intuition. Then my mother calls me from nowhere. Hello, Joshua. Hi, Ma. Are you okay? I'm fine. Says, no, don't waste my time.
Connection.
Says, don't wait. What sense is that?
connection.
What sense that maternal link between a mother and their child, where a mother leaves a child sleeping in the bed, she works in around the garden, and when she comes, says, no, my daughter has actually messed up a diaper.
How do you sense that? Yeah.
What sense is that? So, and hence I'm saying, do we need to go back to the laboratory and say, is the definition of humanity according to the European system that we only have 5 senses? Should we accept that as gospel
I'm
truth?
not accepting it.
Or we need to start accepting that there are other senses
There
that
are.
that we have not yet tapped into, which are also a reality.
Are you willing to tap into the other senses? Or have you tapped into the other senses already?
When I was about to pick up a career, I almost decided whether to become a doctor or to become a landscape engineer or to become a minister. So my physical and medical mind, my scientific mind of inquiry is way alert. And when it comes to learning and grasping experiences, challenging status quo, experimenting, moving into new territories, learning new realities, and etc. It excites me because actually my mind has got a very absorbing sponge where I want to know, I want to learn, and I'm not satisfied with what you tell me.
Yes.
I want to know what more is there.
As you were talking about career, tell me, what's the difference between a career and a calling according to you?
The first difference is the spelling. Because of corona,
Okay,
the first difference is the spelling, where you say what between the calling and
the
the career. Okay, a career could be fitting in a job description within an institutional establishment, where you are expected to know a certain amount of outputs that meet the requirements of the appointment that you've been given. Hence, it is written with a job contract, and this is what we expect from you.
Yes.
And this is what you can expect from us. But whereas a calling digs deep into that which is intrinsically planted in you. It's nothing that you need to learn. It's something that you need to realize more. So people who start doing herbs and move into their callings, it's not something that they're going to learn. I hate to use that word. They're going to realize
So
it.
why are they being initiated?
In its activation.
People find it difficult to accept me. The ones I was with when I was a Christian. And they think I've shifted from being a Christian. They have this mentality that now I'm a spiritual person and...
You're even being polite. It's not being spiritual. You are working with demons.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what they
you
say.
have become evil.
I'm demonic.
And even similarly on my part, when you have worked in a space up to bishopric for 33 years, and you wake up in the morning and say, but guys, this does not make sense. And the same people are beginning to say, but you were saying this all along. I said,
It's still not making sense to them. They still don't understand who they are.
that's not my problem. Growth is progressive, and anything and anybody who says that you will not grow, and they want to stifle you, but actually, on a more serious note, it looks like Christianity is abusive by nature, because once they put you in a certain space, and they give you a certain mentality,
You stay there.
you're not supposed to. You're not allowed to.
Don't even question.
You are even to question it.
No.
Because if we say that this is what it is, and you say, lift up your hand, do you believe that? And you say, yes, I believe
Yes,
it.
I believe it.
For the next 100 years,
You'll forever believe it.
stay there, even if there's evidence to the contrary.
You stay there. You're not allowed to ask the pastor any question.
Please take a seat. Take a seat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, as I was saying, I want to find out from you, have you ever called a sangoma a demon, or have you referred them to before?
Madam, I have. It's truthful to say so. I have lambasted, I have demonized, I have insulted, I have literally, if you were sitting in Omotoso's church also, and you have been in the Christian space, you know the language that ministers use.
I would see that churches, other pastors would prophesy and there will be a spirit speaking. And they would say that spirit is demonic, while that person is saying their name and their surname. And have you ever experienced that?
I've not had an opportunity of meeting someone who could do that to me.
Oh.
Like to experience that live. But I know it has been happening in Africa for the longest of time, under the indigenous space.
Yes.
Where people are going to meet up with a sangoma, and actually, the real sangomas, the indigenous ones that my oldest memory would have,
Yes.
are the ones who would be visited the night before you arrive.
Exactly.
By the time you are arriving, you don't even enter their homestead. They tell you from the gate,
Do not enter.
don't stop right there. You are so and so. 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 Your problem is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please go back and fix it. When it has gone well, please come back and talk to me.
What's your take about the Bible?
The Bible is a complicated translation.
Do you believe in it?
I don't need to believe in anything. It's like asking me, do I believe in you? Do I believe in the tree? Why must I move belief from myself into something? Because I believe in it, I'm making it exist. So the whole issue of me believing in Jesus, believing in the Bible, believing in God, God is an appellation of supernatural. What's his name?
My biggest question to you is, Maponga, going back to a question I wanted to ask you. There were souls that were saved through your preachings at church. And I believe there were people who believed in their ancestors before they met you at church. And then they came back to Christ and left Christianity. So what's your take on that? When you stopped going to church, or when you stopped everything that you did you come back with them? Did you bring them back to their roots, or you just left them there?
The question is, here people were saved. Saved from what?
Because when you call us upon in church, you're like, in the name
hold on.
saving you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
You need to understand that as a young pastor, you further the agenda of the colonial teacher who has made you a pastor. You are all sinners. You need Jesus. You need to be saved. You need to be saved from sin and saved from what. But church is full of the biggest sinners, including myself.
Yeah.
Saved from what? Poverty is still here. Saved, ignorance is still here. So the whole concept of salvation must not be overly emphasized.
When you talk about poverty, I think somehow you're not right when you say saved from what while poverty is still there. You being a Christian, you knowing the word of God, does not necessarily take you out from poverty.
But it keeps you there. Because it promises you
Does
a
it
heaven.
keeps me there?
It promises you heaven in the sky. Then you are able to manage your poverty on earth. It tells you not to kill a man who has taken your land. Because if a man claps on one cheek, give him the other cheek.
Yeah,
and it
that's
tells
what
you
the
to
Bible
pray
says.
for those that hate you and those that persecute you. So Christianity manages your poverty.
True.
And makes you comfortable.
I used to pray for them, then those who hate me or those who bewitch
But
me.
then you forget
Not now.
that God says to the Israelites, go and kill them and take your land.
It does say.
The hand of God drips with blood throughout the whole Bible.
While we're on the Bible, let's speak about John, 1 John. It says, in the beginning it was the Word, and the Word was with God.
The Word was
and
God.
The Word was God.
So was it in the beginning.
Yes.
And everything that was created would not have been created without him.
Without him.
Verse 4, and the Word came and dwelt amongst
Yes.
us and lived amongst us. Verse 5, we have seen the express image of the
Exactly.
Father. Him who is full of grace and... want me to go
So
further?
now we're going back to, first Genesis says he created heaven and earth. First John is at the Old and the New Testament.
Old Testament.
Old Testament, right? And then he comes back when we go to the 10 commandments, he says, I'm not here to break any rule, but I'm here to add.
To fulfill.
Exactly. So do you think at that time we still did our...
Inkinga isinayo sis, is that our modern pastors are so infatuated with European translation that even when God says it, they don't see it. They'll wait to hear what the white man says about it. The Old Testament and the New Testament, it's one testament.
Yeah.
But if you walk up to a church right now, they begin to tell you, that is no longer relevant, that is Old Testament, that is New Testament, that is... Then you want to ask yourself, why are we still getting married? Because marriage is Old Testament. Why are we returning tithe? Because tithe is Old Testament.
Tithe is Old Testament, yes.
Then why are we doing it? So you would find that there is a selective interpretation and exegesis on the text. You still read Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd.
I shall not want.
But it's Old Testament.
Yeah.
So if the real gospel is the New Testament, then why not just cut the Old Testament and throw it away in the dustbin and run with the New Testament?
You know, do you believe in burning impep, which is incense?
I'm still learning. But what I know is Christians, some of the Christians, Anglicans, Lutherans, and some of even of the Roman Catholic Church, they burn in people.
Exactly. Who are they communicating to afterwards?
But then as a theologian, the sons of Eli were burning incense.
Yes.
And then the Bible says burn incense,
in the altar.
on the altar of
On the
burnt
altar,
incense.
yes.
So I know that there is a usage of incense. Even in Revelation chapter 8, and Jesus burned incense in the upper room, and the whole sanctuary was full of smoke, and he had to come out.
Yes.
So you understand that incense is actually...
Jesus himself, according to the Bible, came out of the smoke of the incense, which is impep.
And by the way, incense is not only used for spiritual purposes.
No.
It is also a disinfectant for the atmosphere.
For the atmosphere.
Incense is there to realign auras. You can also use smoke to wash your body.
Yeah.
Incense, above everything else that the Bible even uses it, it creates a space in which spirituality begins to manifest. And I read it somewhere in one of my weird books where it said smoke is the last state of the material state into spirituality. So when you burn something like wood and etc., the last state that it manifests itself into is smoke before it goes back into the spiritual realm. So smoke is actually a medium between two realms, the physical and the spiritual.
Okay, so going back to that, you know the power that we have when we believe to who we are, which is our roots. Because I always have this discussion with my partner when we go back to Oshaga and how he knew that the people coming to attack them.
Bulongauze, Bochaminuka, Bonehanda, all of them warning us about these were the real prophets, by the way. Ask me what's the difference. They were telling us what is coming.
Yeah.
Not the modern prophets who tell us what happened.
What happened?
Because even the devil was there.
Yes.
Why tell me, hey, Izolo, when I ulala ngekaya. How we are prophet?
We are prophet. No,
Thank you, Jesus.
People, when I always have that problem. When people come to me for help, they want me to tell them what happened. And that's not a solution. That's not prophecy. Me telling you what happened yesterday, it's not a solution. But I need to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow so that you can prevent it from happening. So that you can see, if you stay and not do anything, wait for it to come. Then you can come back to me and say, you know what, Gogo Skhotheni,
what you said?
What you said just happened.
Came to pass.
Because what happened yesterday, I can see it, fine. What's the solution for it? Why are you telling me about it? It happened. So why are you telling me about it? So people only believe in that prophecy of which is wrong. They believe in the prophecy of something that happened, not something that has to happen. Shaka believed and he said things that are going to happen. They're going to attack us. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. He said things that were said by his ancestors. He did not say, yesterday they attacked us. The day before yesterday, this is what happened. He spoke of something.
He had a window into the future. He had a window into the future. Hence, when you look at the modern prophets, I only have one problem with them. Because the longest of time that I've studied the Bible, I never found one prophet running a church. Not one prophet in the whole Bible was running
A church.
a church. So when your pastor today says he's running a church,
Then he
it's
prophesies.
not biblical.
Yeah.
Because the same Bible to which he is reading does not
says.
authenticate, verify, or approve the practice of prophet I am ministries, who was on radio, TV a few days ago. Maponga is a small boy in one, and he's a prophet.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, you cannot be a prophet when you're running a church, because a prophet is different from a priest.
Yeah.
A prophet rebukes the church, rebukes the political system. A priest is the furniture of the churchyard.
True.
A prophet owns no building and ultimately is killed by the church. So when you begin to look at modern pastors creating ministries around the prophetic voices, they're not using a biblical model altogether. There is nowhere, please challenge me,
Yeah.
there is nowhere in the whole Bible where one prophet was running a church.
No, there isn't. As much as I want people to come back to their roots, it's difficult because when we look at it, out of 90% of the things that are being manufactured for us to use, which is your beads, your cloths, they are not being made in South Africa.
In Africa.
It's from your
In
China,
Africa.
it's
Speak about Africa.
Yeah, they're not made here. And then when we say, let us own this, we only own in the top parts of our...
The cosmetic side.
Yeah, the cosmetic side, which is us wearing things, going back. But we don't own everything. That is, the beads that we wear, they are not from us. We don't do them. The clothes that we have, the things that we see, we dream of, we don't own
It's not just owning them as Gogo Skhotheni. It's also maybe understanding the production and manufacturing of these goods.
But if you go back to it...
The technologies that we have lost, by the
Yeah.
way, but we no longer have, even in some certain spaces, where the old ladies still know how to clean up the skins and make them into these kind of things, where the old boys would know how to. So it's not just the loss of, we have remained with the idea, but when it comes now even to the knowing, the know-how of which herbs do we go in the bush to use, which paints do we use, on which skins do we use. Even if we wanted to use skins, where are the animals which we can kill? Because we're staying in flats in Sandton and in suburbia.
Yeah.
So
can't.
we are disjoined from the real place where our African spirituality happens. You want right now to go into the river and go into a ceremony. Before you cross the river, illegal, no trespassers will be prosecuted. Because that farm belongs to a white man. Before you access a mountain, trespassers will be prosecuted.
How do you baptize people?
Before you enter, now the white churches will make a swimming pool in the backyard of a church and then put some water or call them to one of your swimming pools in one of the rich members' house.
Have you ever baptized people before?
Actually, on the contrary, I'm actually happy. I think I baptized one or two.
How are you doing it? By the river?
No, it was in a pool in the church pool.
Really?
Right in front of under the pulpit, there was a pond.
Oh, yes.
So they filled it up with water and then they warmed it. It was actually warm water, and I baptized them in warm water there. Yeah.
What's your take about the new sangomas, the young ones, the slaying sangomas,
Yeah. We must understand also there is a commercial side of this sangoma story, just like gay and lesbian story. There's a commercial side of this thing. We know people who play Joburg, gay. They go back to Eastern Cape and Northern Cape, and they become husbands to their wives. But when they're here, they're at work. So we know we don't. And the pastors also who can play double side. There are sangomas also who are and even politicians. Let's not go too far. There are politicians who will walk around in a t-shirt and cheap shoes and walk up to the grannies in the mkukus. We're here to help you, Gogo. What are the problems here in Orange Farm? La-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da. And in the evening, they're in Sandton with a 3,000 bottle of Moet in their hands.
Yeah.
And blowing out the whistles and cigars. And they were one thing that side and one thing this side. And what I'm tired of is that hypocrisy. Let's just be.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And let's be truthful. And unmask this cow so that all of us can live.
Yeah. People have a tendency of saying sangomas, it's like a fashion now. Everyone is going to be initiated.
It's a good fashion. The days when we were doing R&B, in the days when I was going to high school in the 1980s, when Michael Jackson was still coming into the space and putting on those pens and etc. I cut my father bought me a suit. I cut it and he almost killed me. He almost beat me almost to death. I cut that thing and the jacket and tie it because it was fashionable to become that. But it was external. And because it was us now, even now, putting on these bebop hats,
Yeah.
New York hats, flat top socks hats, and etc., then no one sees anything wrong with that. Because it is Western.
Yeah.
But when African stuff becomes fashionable, then we want to start creating all this halu Africans, Sangoma stories becoming fashionable. Yes, it must become fashionable.
It must be.
There
Who you
was
are.
one time also when becoming Mzalwane was fashionable. Speaking in tongues.
Yeah, I do.
Was
fashionable.
fashionable.
I used to do that. Oh my God.
And you look back and say,
What was I doing?
was I part of that rubbish?
Yeah.
It was fashionable.
It was.
But what makes me excited is that in as much as African indigenous knowledge systems are being deemed as fashionable, the basis is truthful. If the person who is using it as fashion can just stop and while they're doing it, they're being authentic. So even when they're being fashionable, when you burn your papers and you're burning your candles, you're not being fashionable.
No, you're not.
You're actually doing the real. So there is, in the midst of that, you may attract good dreams. You may attract, but it would be better, of course, not to pretend. You'd rather do it honestly.
Do it because you have to.
In my tribe, we say, when you say you eat a dog, don't eat a poodle. Just kill a bulldog and eat it.
Yeah.
So that we don't find you with a small little drumstick of a dog and say, I'm eating a dog. Hayi, ungadudlinja. Idlubhoki. Lenkulengaka ushaba kuthi uphethe umlenze ngakho yini yathi ngidlinja. All in one word, of course. If you say you're going to do something, do it with all your heart.
Yeah.
And do it to the best of your ability.
Even the Bible says that, right? There's a scripture that says, whatever your right hand finds, do it. And do it with your all. Meaning, if you are a Christian, do it with your all. If you are a Sangoma, do it with your all.
And if you're an African, do it with your all. But unfortunately, we have Africans who are trying to do Europeans, and they're doing European things with all their hearts.
Yes.
Like that other friend of mine, who I call him a friend so that I can redeem him, in Boulder's shopping mall, who was doing the white thing with all his heart.
Yes.
In a nice purple jacket.
Yeah.
This is my shopping mall.
Yeah, this is my mall.
You don't come here looking like this.
I
Get out of here.
Sure you guys went.
He did it with all his heart.
How did it
Unfortunately, he was doing it with all his heart, but doing a wrong thing.
A wrong thing.
Yeah, it went on. We met up with the managers there. We registered our concerns, to which they gave us a list of the objectives that they would do, cultural villages, selling indigenous things. And they asked us, do we want him to be fired? I said, no, let's not fire him. I want him once a week to dress up like a Tswana and come to the mall to work.
You joking?
I'm telling you, we gave them a list of requirements. I just want, and West still is Tswana. You see, if he was Zulu, would have been saying, or Swazi, would have been saying at least he's got a skin. But you know the Tswana thing, only have that leather underwear.
Oh my gosh.
And a small little string on that. So I want him as a Tswana man to dress up like a Tswana and come back here to work. Because we know this institution sometimes, it's not him. It is the bylaws that are being written by the owners of the system. So he was implementing. He would not have been saying that if the shopping mall did not say, do not bring into the shopping mall anyone dressed up in tracksuits. No, they say track suits, swimming suits, and etc. And because swimwear is that, you forget that the Tswana traditional dress also is closer to the swimwear. So actually, what he was doing in the shop, he was on point.
Yeah.
Because this kind of dressing, many people, of course, just showed the blanket on top, but at the bottom of the blanket was the traditional Ndebele Tswana thing. So which actually left all his legs at the bottom. And many of us were offended because we just saw the blanket. But knowing, understanding the culture itself, he had very little at the bottom going down. To which the manager shot up to say, no, not in my mall.
Not in my mall. He was standing tall. Not in my mall.
Not in my mall. Hey, says, hey, get out. Get out.
You know, I would dress up. I remember I had a beshu on. It was a Zulu attire. And then I walked to the mall. Freely so. Walking barefoot. Everybody was looking at me. And I did not care what anybody said. But if I could rock up with my weaves and, I look glamour. Why?
The narrative that we have been sold, it's not a true narrative. It's a coconut narrative that makes us brown on the outside and white on the inside. And unfortunately, through the academic institutions, through the crashes, through the Caspers and the Friendly Ghosts, through the Beauty and the Beasts, through the Cinderella movies, before we notice it, the Romeo and Juliet worldview.
Yes.
That's why we must be very careful, the quality of food that young children eat. Because both mentally and physically. Because when they eat that food psychologically, it begins to create a worldview.
I always tell people when it comes to dream, people tend to forget important dreams. They tend to wake up and like, I had an important dream. It's what you eat that disturbs the spirits. It's sometimes they think it's sexual intercourse. And when you have certain sexual intercourse with a certain person, it disturbs your spirit. That as well, I do agree. But most important thing that I've picked up and that I have experience on is what you eat affects your dreams. You wake up and you don't dream. Do you know the theory of when you bath, you must use salt? Have you used it before?
Very important. I do that.
It works wonders, doesn't it?
I do that.
So me as a Sangoma,
Actually, maybe to help some people who are sitting out there at home
Yeah.
and wondering, how do I start my spiritual life?
Yeah.
Fast once a week,
Thank
at
you.
least. In the morning, eat like a king. At lunch hour, eat like a prince.
Yes.
Supper, eat like a princess.
Yeah.
Little. Bath with salts.
Bath with salt.
Sleep
I
on
always
it.
tell
So
people
all these things,
bath with salt.
they will enhance.
It's a spiritual thing. Okay, I add pink water sometimes. It works for me. It's one of the products that I have. It works for me. But when you bath with pink water, any ordinary person can do it. It helps.
It works, and over and above that, it's also exposing yourself to environments. Take off your shoes, walk on the ground often, go to the rivers, go to the mountains.
Stand outside when it's raining.
You
that's
saw a clip on
That's deep.
you saw a clip on Abafundis, the first season.
I didn't.
When actually they came to capture me, they came to record at my house.
Yeah.
And just when they arrived, it started raining. Then I told them
Wait.
the recording has to wait a bit.
always
Then I went
say that.
outside, and every time when it rains, I actually go outside and take a bath.
The power of that.
We cannot finish with Gogo Skhotheni. This is just an introduction. We'll be talking and we'll be sharing more information, African indigenous knowledge systems, Christian knowledge systems.
Yeah.
How do we all come together? And we're beginning to create a new narrative for our own selves. And by the way, it's not just about me and her. If you are out there in the world and you'd want to become part of this conversation, our websites will be available, our Facebooks are available, our Twitters are available, Instagrams and everything else. And even if you want to come to studio maybe and share your spiritual experience, Gogo Skhotheni is right here. She'll be available to help you and begin to grow your own spiritual growth also. It's not limited to ourselves.
Yeah.
We have not seen God or seen Amahlos again that we can say we are the authorities in this thing.
No, we're not. I
He
tend to be corrected in everything that I say.
and this is what offends many of you.
Yeah.
And when I say, I know nothing, I am just a student
Yes.
in the classroom of life.
We learn every day.
There you have
Learn
it.
every day.
Gogo,
Thank you.
what a privilege and an honor
Thank you very much.
to have you with us here.
Same here.
We'll do it again and again
And again.
and again.
Thank you. Amen.
Thokozani wogogo nabomkhulu.